Hey, welcome back to the new issue of Let's Play Retro Gamer. This is the October issue, I think. I should probably say what the number it is. It's number 277. 277. And this is, as you can see, the Total War cover. And I haven't noticed this before, maybe, but it's really nice. The Retro Gamer logo and this emblem, some parts of the emblem are like foil printed. I don't know if they always do that. The last one isn't. So that's a cool little bonus. I wonder if they're going to do that from now on. Very cool. So I realized something this episode, and that is that I can actually emulate and play Dreamcast games. For my whole life, I never had a computer good enough to emulate that properly. Or I've tried it. Like every new computer, I give it a shot, and they just don't run well. But I finally got like a Silicon Mac, and I can. So I will play one Dreamcast game in this magazine as a start, and then from now on I will be able to. So very exciting. So here's a feature on the SNES port of Doom. And, they call it a SNES-ational port. And they talk about how hard it was to port the game to Doom and how impressive it is considering the limitations of the system. I played. They had a Doom. They had a Doom magazine just a few months ago, which I did. It's on my channel, and I played all the Dooms and talked about Doom and talked about Brutal Doom in that. I did not play the console ports. Well, I played the N64 and PlayStation port, I should say, but this is like one of the old ports, right? The SNES, and I never played that one yet. So I played it this time for the in honor of this article, and it is very bad. It's terrible. I mean, I get, like, obviously it can't be good, right? Like, I get it. The limitations are there, and it is a game that you can play. But this is kind of going to be this is going to happen again in this magazine later. But the question is why? Like, why port a game to a system that has no business running it? And, I know the answer. The answer is to make money. But I think it's actually a little bit insidious because people, like, in the Super Nintendo era, like when that was the console at the time, weren't as savvy as they are today. So when you see Doom came out on the console you own, and you play Doom at your friend's house, I think you can be duped into thinking that you're going to get that experience. And you're going to shell out, $50 in 1990s currency to get this game, and it's going to be horrible. I think it's a mistake to do that, and I think the companies that did it are doing a disservice to the users. I hate it. And looking back, in 2025, you should absolutely never play the Super Nintendo version of Doom. And why they even waste the time to re-release it, via like limited run, is including it in their the collector's edition of Doom. Why? I get. It's not. That's not the only thing that's coming out. I get you just put the ROM on. Like, who cares? But it's preserving it just for the sake of knowing, like, yep, we got it running on Super Nintendo. It isn't a game anybody's going back to, and it isn't a game that I would say anybody's looking back fondly. I mean, I know that the developer here, an astonishing port of Doom, and I think he did wonders with what's possible. I'm obviously not a developer, and I don't know how hard it is. But, I mean, just look at it. Like, it's unplayable now. I would say it's unplayable. It is a game that runs, but it's not a game that anybody wants to play. I have a bit of a sore throat, so I'm having some tea here to kind of soothe me a little bit. Yeah, Brutal Doom instead, I would say. This is the era. Or if you're playing Doom on PC, probably, for sure, right? And Doom, the good versions of Doom have also all been released on, a lot of the Doom modern games. I know Doom... Which one? Doom 3 has the original Doom built in. You can also just buy it on all of the arcades. All of the shops, like PlayStation Store has the Doom collection you can buy. They just released a new, like a new version of Doom too, with new campaigns. Like, it was a whole big thing. So a new revamp just came out. So there's so many ways to play the game now that I mean, I know they're not recommending you play the Super Nintendo version here. They're just highlighting it as a remarkable port. So kudos to the developer. But the game, in comparison to every other Doom, it's terrible. So. This is really cool, actually. I was into this. There's a Vectrex Mini coming out. You know, in lieu in the tradition of the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, the Vectrex Mini, which is a Kickstarter right now, or I think maybe just ending now, and it's like $150 or 150 euros to get a Vectrex Mini. I looked into this pretty deeply because I would be really interested in getting one of these because I love the Vectrex. But from the research I've put into it, it looks like it's just like an emulation machine that emulates Vector. And why that's disappointing to me is because the real art and cool part of the Vectrex and Vector arcades is the actual Vector art. You know, the it's not pixel based. The sprites, they're actually Vector lines, legitimately. And I'm fortunate enough to have seen it myself. In Minneapolis, there was a video game exhibit like 5 years ago at the Science Museum. They had a video game exhibit, and I went to that. And in there, they had like the original Space Invaders and Asteroids. The original Asteroids, which was a vector-based arcade game. And I saw it in its natural habitat. Like I played Space Invaders on emulator, since. But you can't emulate the vector art and the glow that they have. Like the black screen with the actual lines glowing on it. It's like an oscilloscope, like that kind of look. Nothing looks like that. And I would so wish I could have a Vectrex that actually did the real thing. And I would pay $300 for that, But in terms of just having an emulation machine, not as cool. But they do give you the overlays as well. So, Vectrex had the little overlays you can slot in to make the games look like they have color. They're doing that. So, I mean, it is a cool package. And as far as minis go, I think this is a really cool one and it's a unique experience because those games are, pretty simple to play, but fun and unique. And the overlays, the physicality of the overlay, I think is super fun. So, I'm still keeping my eye on it. I don't think I'm going to get it, but I'm keeping my eye on it. This article by Mika here is kind of a story about a friend he had I wrote a little note. Connection to old friend via video games. He had a friend who was kind of a bully, but that he kind of befriended him, and he played this game, The Green Lantern, on, I think this is Commodore 64. And then he looked his friend up later and found out his friend took his own life through the chain of friends. And now he gets to play the game that he liked with his friend, with his kids, or his other friends, and that creates that connection. It's a touching story, and I find myself thinking about that a lot. In terms of, I've seen several Reddit posts where people are saying, their father passed away, but their father's saved games are in all the games they had, and they can relive or play those saves over and over again and see what the names of the characters are, and that's a connection to their father or mother. They happen to be father stories that I've read, but moms can also play games. One of the most touching ones I saw was that in Mario Kart 64 you can race the ghost of your previous, or Diddy Kong Racing, I forgot what game it was exactly, but some racing game where you can race the ghost of the time trial, best score, and they were set by this kid's dad. So he can race his dad in Mario Kart or whatever game it was through the ghost feature. That's something that's really cool. I mean, that's cool. It's a modern time capsule of having your parents or friends' spirit be with you. It's really cool. One of the things I've been doing, which is not as much this. But when I beat a game, I document me beating a game, and my games are all, the games I'm beating are DVD based, like Xbox and PlayStation 4 games. I put a little note into the DVD case, like in where the manual goes, or the little, licensing sheet is. I write a haiku, or I take a Polaroid photo of the screen as I beat it, or I write like the date and time, and I put a little card in the game and talk about, just if it's like a little haiku I write about beating the game. So at some point, when my son's looking through my video games, he'll open the cases and a little postcard will fall out about me beating it. So that's a little cool thing I'm doing, and see if that pays off in 50 years when all that's left of these are these videos and my little post-its. On a lighter note, some nice Evercade carts are coming out, and I highlighted a couple. There's an Activision collection, which has 15 games of Activision. Activision games, you can see a little picture here. They're on Atari. Their trademark was having that little rainbow trail after the games, and they're all on Atari typically quite good games. I don't know if I can name a bad one, but I can name a lot of good ones. And some good ones are featured here. Enduro, Pitfall, and River Raid. And I played all of these games, and I had a great time. All right, let's play some Pitfall. Pitfall is a game that I did not have as a kid. I ran into this game pretty late. Actually, a funny story with me and Atari games is I was on Mac. My primary gaming life was on early Mac, System 7. And I had this, my dad knew this guy. I don't know how he met him, but he was a computer guy, and he was like a pirate. And he had all these games. And he'd always give me, whenever we go over there to buy a new monitor or a keyboard, whatever, to his shop, he'd always give me like a hard drive full of games. And a hard drive full of games is like 100 megabytes at that point. But he'd give me like, 100 games. And one time, he gave me this game, this folder of just Atari games. And it was all Atari 2600 games. I don't know, I don't remember what the collection was, but it had a lot of these Activision games. It definitely had Pitfall in there. And it had Hero, and it had Boxing. I remember those 3 games were in there for sure, and River Raid. And those are the games I played the most. Hero I really liked a lot because it felt like I was out at that point. Nintendo was out. I was a Mario kid. For a long time. I mean, Super Nintendo was out at that point, I think. And Hero was close to Mario. Like it's a level based. It's not a side scrolling. It's kind of like down scrolling adventure game, and it was challenging and fun. And Pitfall also felt that way. I feel like Pitfall and Hero are in the same like realm of how much depth they have, like as far as Atari games go. Like River Raid is arcadey shoot 'em up. You'll see in a second. Enduro Racer is like an arcadey racing game. There's not much of a narrative to it. Whereas Hero and Pitfall, they do have a narrative, so they're in the same kind of field. Pitfall did not leave me like wanting. Like, I don't really care about Pitfall much. Like, I understand that it's a important game for what it did, and a lot of people love it, and I think at the time it was pretty revolutionary. But going back to it now, it's actually pretty boring. Not a lot going on. The way you interact with the world is pretty simplistic. You just jump. You time your jumps. I mean, I guess you could say that in Mario 1, all you do is jump too, but there's only one speed of movement. The traps are all kind of samey. You just jump over logs or snakes or holes. It's all the same, And I played this play session here trying to figure out what, play until I die, basically, like figure out what I'm supposed to do. I think toward the end of this, I found like one money bag, but I really am not sure what is going on in this game. I suppose, I should read the manual to learn more about it, but it's a good game. I would still say it's an essential Atari game just for, like, this is how far we've come, and this is one of the first side-scrolling, I want to say Metroidvanias. It's not really a Metroidvania. A side-scrolling platform game. And I would show it to my kids and say, this was what games were like when, even before I was a kid. But as far as playing it in 2025, probably not. So, if you like it, let me know. I want to hear what you have to say. Enduro is a game that I also didn't play much. Definitely probably not more than 5 seconds. I know it's really highly regarded by Atari lovers, and I see it on the best of lists all the time. And I've never really given it a fair try until today. And I'll tell you what, it is actually a really fun game that I would be happy to play again. I could see a game like this. I mean, obviously the graphics would be improved, but the control-wise and concept-wise, I could see a game like this coming out on like iPhones now as like a goofy little indie, like a one-button indie game, and doing very, very well. Like it feels awesome. It plays smooth. It's fast, and it's easy to understand. One of my favorite things about Atari is when you beat like a level and the palette changes to a different color, and that feels so amazing. Enduro really leans into that. Like you saw a second ago, we had a snow level, which felt so cool, even though it played exactly the same. Like you'd think maybe they put ice physics in or something. No, it's the same. And now we're like going into the sunset. It looks awesome. Like it's so much fun. And then look, the sky changed. The sun's rising. Oh yeah, this was so cool. Look, you go into night mode, and actually it changes the cars to tail lights instead of a flat car design. This really does feel different and kind of ominous. Really, really cool. The things they did to keep it fresh. It makes me excited. All these Atari games that have palette changes as like progression, I get so excited to like, oh, what's the next one? What's the next one? Oh, have you ever made it to the green one? Or the sunset or the winter? It's really fun. Look how many cars there are. Look how fast this game plays. Really remarkable. Oh, look, fog. This one's in the fog now, so you can't see very far. That's a whole different gameplay element. This would be a really fun game on like a handheld. Like if you're waiting at a dentist office or something, or wherever you are waiting, or at a tire shop. Would be fun to play this on a handheld. It's like a perfect game. It's pick up and play, really easy to control, and you don't need much screen space to understand what's happening. So Enduro is a complete classic, and I will be coming back to this game when I'm in the Atari mood. Love it. River Raid is another game that I did have in that pack of Atari games, and I played this game a lot at the time because shmups were a genre that I found very fun. I love them, and this one plays really well. Like comparing it to a Nintendo shmup, pretty solid. Obviously, the graphics are much more rudimentary, but it has like branching paths. As you can see here, that was a short branch, but they get longer. It has this mechanic with the fuel, which I think is really revolutionary. Like a lot of, shoot 'em up games on Atari, like Phoenix or Demon Attack or Space Invaders, what they're based on, is a single screen. All you do is shoot up, and there's not much going on. Space Invaders had the shields, but this game has like terrain. It has a lot of different enemy types. And it has the fuel mechanic, all of which is very interesting. So, and you can, if you can shoot the fuel and it dies. So if you're getting a little trigger happy, you could get yourself run out of fuel. So you got to be precise with your shots. You can speed up and speed down by pushing up and down on the joystick. You can control your speed. I didn't really find much of a reason to go fast, but you can. I think that's interesting. So. Really revolutionary game, especially compared to its contemporaries. Like they took the shoot 'em up genre a step further, for sure. So kudos to the Atari team or the Activision team for this. River Raid is a great one that I can see myself playing in, like today and still having fun. There's also a Llamasoft Collection. I don't know what Llamasoft is. I mean, it's a development company, obviously, but I don't know what games they made. And it says, including Grid Runner, Revenge of the Mutant Camels, and Llamatron 2112. I don't know what system any of those are on. I mean, I could Google it, I guess, but like it's not obvious to me what they're on, so I didn't write them down to play it. Sorry. And then there is a Rare collection coming out with 12 games, including Jetpack, Night Lore, and Battletoads. So, now I can emulate Spectrum games, and I'm really happy about that. I love the Spectrum. And I played Jetpack, and I thought Jetpack was... I mean, I played, like, ports of Jetpack on some other consoles, I think. But this is where it first came out on the Spectrum. And it's awesome. It is awesome. It's such a fun arcade game. And the colors are really good, and you like... There's actually more of a... It's more deep than I thought, originally. Like, you just... I thought it was like a Defender game, which maybe that is actually deeper than I think, too. But you shoot left and right, and you hover up and down, but it's a single screen. Defender's kind of like a long scrolling... A belt scroller, I guess. In Jetpack, you just go up and down on this little single screen. Kind of like Joust, really, is what it is. But you have a gun. And you're trying to collect treasures and also build up your rocket ship and then get fuel and fuel it up and then finally get into it and then take off to the next level. And levels progressively get harder with more and more enemies trying to get you, and the enemies are like these mindless rocks. I guess I don't know if I saw anything more intelligent than just like a boulder. But you can jump around and shoot them, and the colors are really cool, and it plays really smooth. That is a classic Spectrum game that I will definitely be playing more. So, love it. Battletoads is a Nintendo classic. It's, called by some one of the hardest games on the Nintendo. I've certainly never beaten it, but I did play it pretty seriously, and I could get pretty far in that game. I remember I could beat the snake level, and I get to the underwater level, I think is where I could not get any further. But that's pretty deep into the game, honestly. Like, I could easily beat the speeder section that stopped a lot of people. I do remember, like, when I was a kid, I couldn't beat it when I was a kid. Like, I remember straight up on thinking that game ended after you beat that part. Like, level 1, 2, and 3 is all of Battletoads, and that's where it ends. I picked the game up again around middle school and high school. I found my old Nintendo in the attic. In the wherever, like I dug it up and I had a Nintendo again, and I found a few games, and Battletoads is one of the games that I had. So I played it just a ton in my room. I was always a retro lover. So when I was in high school, it was Xbox, But I'm still over there grinding Castlevania 1, Ninja Gaiden, and Battletoads. So I can get pretty deep into it. And I actually played it with my friend Mitch, and we played it co-op, which is 10 times harder than playing it solo. And we could both beat the speeder level together and get to the surfboard level and maybe even the snake level. I don't remember the order of the levels anymore, but co-op, like, that's hard because in the speeder level, if either one of you die, you got to start over. So if one of you's doing well but the other one's doing bad, it throws off all the energy. You both got to be like on point to beat that speeder level together. But yeah, I've definitely never beaten it though. Even at the best of times, it is really hard. But I love it. The game is really fun. The Battletoads themselves as characters are super unique and cool. Their fists get, like, super big. I think in the Super Nintendo game, they got a lot more character. Like, in the NES game, they just had, like, a big fist or a big boot. In the Super Nintendo game, like, there's 3 different Toads, and their arms and legs turn into, like, weapons. Like an axe, or a Morning Star, or, like, a cannonball. Like, there's a lot more visceral what they do. It's really cool. But, knowing that's what the Toads' bodies do, I think that's just such a cool thing. And the sound's awesome, the music's awesome, and, I actually didn't really... I think deep down in my mind, I knew Rare made that game. And if you don't know, Rare probably most famous for GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and Donkey Kong Country. For me, anyway. That's what they're famous for in my mind. But yeah, they made Battletoads too. So what a bunch of home run masters those guys are. Tremendous. Here's a Puzzle Bobble page. Puzzle Bobble is just an awesome 2-player puzzle game that I think doesn't get enough recognition. I think this game is underappreciated for how much fun it is to play it 2-player. So think of it like, if you can, I'm showing the gameplay, so I don't need to describe it. You're shooting these bubbles to the top of the screen, trying to match 3. It's like an old match 3 game. I played it first on Super Nintendo, and I liked it there. But I played only single player, just like trying to, beat the clock or whatever. It wasn't until I tried it on N64 in its 2-player form that I really fell in love with it, and I could not wait to show it to all my friends who are, retro fans. Like, have you played Puzzle Bobble? And they're like, no. And then we ended up losing an entire night playing it. So, was happy to invite my friend over to play the PlayStation version, which is the one that's written about here. And, yeah, I mean, I love it. I didn't explore all the features, so I don't know exactly what the PlayStation version offers that isn't in the N64 version, but it does offer loading screens. So potentially the N64 version might be the better version to play this now, but I'm sure they both have different features. The core gameplay is the same. I think on the PlayStation I'm like picking a character and they're getting different attack patterns, whereas on the N64 I don't remember that, but it's been a couple years since I played that. You can't lose with either one. If you have a friend you play competitive puzzle games with like that. This is an interesting article here by Paul Rose. He writes about old games that are beloved, but they're actually bad. And in it, he goes through and talks about games like Adventure for Atari 2600 as a game that is bad. What does he say about it? He says, it's considered a classic, even featured as a major plot point in Ready Player One, but playing it feels like an interactive migraine. An interactive migraine. He talks about Nightlore, which is also in that Rare collection, which is a Spectrum game. I haven't played it yet. He talks about Maniac Miner, Insufferable Trial and Error Ordeal. So he talks about these old games that are considered classics that are actually terrible to play now. And I don't know if he's right about, I'm sure he's right about a lot of them, but I did play Adventure for this magazine, and I was pretty impressed. I played it for a long time, and I know I've been showing the footage of me playing it for a while. I've dabbled in Adventure because I know it's Ready Player One, and I played it, after I read the book, and I'm like, I wonder what that's about. I never chose to get it. I just I'm a little dot that moves around. I didn't really get anything that's going on or care to look. This time, I read the manual. I read through the manual, and it is very clear on what you're supposed to do, and I learned a lot. And I actually beat the first castle for this, which was really cool, I thought. And I used a lot of the tools the game had, and it was very impressive to think that You know, on Atari 2600, they basically made a Legend of Zelda style game. You know, like an open world adventure where you got to pick up items and unlock new areas. And let me ask you this while I'm playing this footage. Let's ponder this for a second. Why isn't Legend of Zelda considered a Metroidvania? Is it just because it is a top-down perspective instead of a sideways perspective? Is that like a requiring characteristic of a Metroidvania? I mean, I get that maybe that game came out before the Metroid Castlevania style games came out. I get chronologically. But nowadays, when a game comes out and it's a top-down Zelda-like, why isn't it in the Metroidvania bucket? Is it just a perspective? Because there's so many similarities in that, like, the whole world is there and it's persistent, and you're prevented from entering different parts of the world because you lack like an ability. And then you go get the ability, like the bridge or the bombs or, you know, the strength, the gauntlet of strength, and then you revisit old areas, and now you can move that rock, blow up that wall, cross that chasm, and you enter new areas. Like that's it. It's exploration based. The progression is item based, and the world is persistent in there. I mean, I don't know what I'm missing in the definition, but it seems like all of those Zelda games should be Metroidvania genre. What are they called? Like top-down action RPGs? That's what I think what genre they go into. Why isn't a Metroidvania then just called a side-scrolling action RPG? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, back to adventure. So the first map or whatever, the first castle is easy, and it's pretty straightforward, like a tutorial basically. You get the key, you get a sword, you kill the dragon, you get the key, you go to get the chalice, and you bring the chalice back home. And you have to use maybe the bridge to get through like the wall or whatever. Then you get to Castle 2, and they add a lot more at you. First off, now there's a white key, a yellow key, and a black key. You need all of those to open the various gates. Now you have a dungeon that's dark, and you have like a small circle of light, so you can't quite see how to navigate it. That's a little challenge. Now there's a bat that steals items from you and like mixes them all up. There's so much going on, and it's pretty fun to kind of go through it. Like I'm surprised how long I stuck around to play this ancient game. So, Mr. Paul Rose here, I agree with you on a lot of these that old games are bad. Like I was just talking about Doom. Maybe that's not fair because Doom's a port of a better game. But there's a lot of Atari games that are bad. You know, like they're no good, and you wouldn't, even though they're considered good, they're bad. Like I will say. A game that I think that's bad, Barnstormer, I think is a bad game. I think the boxing game on Atari is bad. And these are games that are considered, you know, pretty good. But Adventure, I think still holds up today for what it is. For like a very simplistic kind of RPG action game, Zelda-like. I like it. Here's a kind of a long article about Kevin Tom's bringing Football Star Manager to Steam. You know, I'm sorry to say I don't care enough about sports games to be really invested in this or to try it. But, you know, I always like to see a project go all the way. You know, like an old project being revitalized. I'm for it, but I didn't play the soccer game. Here's the Soul Reaver Editorial. I read this a couple months ago, and I've never played the Soul Reaver games. But if you're interested, there is a cool collection you can buy for modern consoles. Looks great. You get audio. You get the official soundtrack CDs. I think that's cool. Oops, missed one. Back in the naughties section this time, I pulled out Henry Hatsworth for Nintendo DS. This is a game that always came up on like hidden gem lists for Nintendo DS, and I had it in my collection for a while and never played it. So I took the opportunity to play it now, which is exactly why I do this project and why I find it so fun. Like I forgot this game existed. Like I downloaded it. Like I watch a hidden gem list on YouTube. I'll add all the games. You know, I'll go write them all down. I'll find them all, and then I'll move on with my life. Like that was what I did. And then I forgot that I got any. Sometimes I remember, right? But Henry Hatsworth just kind of fell off, and I never played it again. I actually played Henry on my iPhone using the Delta emulator, which is now allowed on the App Store. For a long time, emulators weren't allowed on the iOS App Store, but something happened recently, like within the last year, and now you can. So there's a bunch of emulators on iOS. I know you Android people are like, you Apple losers. We've had emulators for, since the 2000, whatever, single digits. But yeah, that's the way it is. On iPhone, you could not have any emulators until recently. And one of the best type of games to emulate are Nintendo DS games because of the active touchscreen. So like you have the touchscreen. It actually sucks to emulate NDS on like your computer because you can't touch the screen, and interacting with that it sucks. But on your phone, it's perfect. And I actually wanted to show this off. I got this tiny little cracked cracked controller, and cracked is spelled without any vowels. It's like CRKD, cracked. It's on Amazon for $20, and it's a keychain, and I have it on my keys. So wherever I go, I always have my phone. I always have my keys. I can sit down, Bluetooth connect to my phone, and then play games on it. So this has been just a great way, and I love any chance to use that. So I did play Henry that way. And it's a cool game. It has like two tiers of gameplay. You have your top view where you're playing, like a platformer you have a weapon and you have a sword, a gun. You jump, you slide. You have a lot of moves. It's like a lot of things to do. And then when you kill enemies, their like spirit goes into this Tetris-style puzzle on the other screen, and then you can switch at will between screens. And you have to go down to the bottom screen to clear the enemies and get power-ups. And if you neglect the bottom screen too long, like the enemy tiles can come back and they try to kill you in the top view. So it's a pretty interesting amalgamation of genres. I've never played anything like it before. And really charming graphics. The way the little characters talk to each other is really cool. They have like funny voices. Yeah, I mean it's a really cool and original game, and both the platforming and the puzzling elements are fun. And I'm excited to see what happens later in the game. I played it for 25 minutes or so, and really like what I saw. So fun chance to try that out. It does appear in a lot of hidden gems lists and seems to be very highly regarded. Alright, now we enter the Total War, 25 years of Total War epic battles. And they go through all the Total War games. I never played any Total War game, primarily because they're PC games, and I was a Mac user my whole life. And back in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of games just never made it to Mac. And I don't want to say that Total War didn't. I don't know if it did or didn't. But it wasn't... I wasn't. It was just I was not a PC gamer on Mac. You just couldn't be. That's why I was such a console gamer. I was a big Xbox guy. I was a N64 kid. Computer gaming was just kind of missed me. I did play a couple of Mac games like Descent, and I did have Doom and Marathon, a lot of Bungie games. Bungie was a Mac game company first. But yeah, anyway, Total War, totally missed it. I did have a friend who was very much into it, and he always showed me battles when I came over, and I thought it was very cool. That being said, I know these games have a lot to them, and they're not ones you can just jump into. So I didn't end up hunting any of these down and playing them. But this is a very long, in-depth write-up on every game when it came out and the memories of Ian. Who's Ian? Ian is... Total War was Ian's passion even before joining Creative Assembly to handle their PR and marketing for Medieval. Over time, he switched to design and is now game director. So that's cool. So we got, and Kevin McDowell. Having been an artist on Total War series since Rome, Kevin has since gone on to lead the franchise as art director at the studio. So these guys have been involved in the game, the series, historically. And they write about their memories in this. And it's a rich series that, I think is awesome. But I've just never played it. Look how long this is. This is one of the longest articles I've seen. It was like 5 pages. A lot to cover. World Series Baseball. Another sports article that I am not super interested in. Baseball is also, a fun fact, my least favorite sport. On top of not being a sports fan, I do think baseball might be the worst. So, no offense to the people developing baseball games, of course. I think that, that's hard. But I'm not interested. Also, it's an Amstrad CPC game or a C64 game, which are both consoles I don't know how to play right now. Here's a game on C64, Commodore 64. What I like about this, I didn't play it because, I just said I don't do those, but the people on the top, I love this. Look at these, all these different people sprites and the whole variety of them. I think that's so awesome. And those are all real racers in this game. That's so cool. All right. This is a big feature on Elite Systems, which is a development company that I've seen this logo when I did the Amiga episode. I know for sure, although I can't name any of their games. I saw that Retro Gamer did tweet about what is your favorite Elite Systems game at some point, and I was like, what the heck's Elite Systems? I had nothing to offer. But here are some of the games they made. And this one, I'm like, hey, is this Punch-Out? Frank Bruno's Boxing. I mean, that is Bear Hugger from Super Punch-Out. No question. And it says a shameless clone of Nintendo's arcade game Super Punch-Out. So, yeah. I mean, I hope it's a good one. Here is Bomb Jack. I did play Bomb Jack, although the posted card is on a different place because they showed the answers of what are your favorite Elite Systems games, and somebody said Bomb Jack, and I have the card there, but I see this is where it ended up. So Bomb Jack on the Spectrum. I played that, and I just played Bomb Jack last magazine review as well, the arcade version of Bomb Jack, which I thought was very good. The Spectrum port is not as good. It does keep the Bomb Jack gameplay, which is smooth and good in the classic Spectrum style, but there's no music. It's kind of quiet and lame sounding, and also the way you collide with enemies and then you die. You can't really tell. The interaction is not very satisfying. But, obviously it's a Spectrum port of an arcade game that you can just play the arcade game. Yeah, I mean, it's a good port, though. It's good. So, kudos to them. Also, you can see they're talking about Batty. I have the posted here because they're saying they talk about the port to Spectrum, all the different ports of Batty and what Batty is. Batty is an Arkanoid breakout clone, and I played the Spectrum version of Batty, I think last magazine, and I was just pumped to try it again because I had such a good time playing it the first time. So I played some more Batty this time. and still loved it. Still loved it. Batty is, I would say, an essential Spectrum game. Check it out. And I don't know if there's a better version of Batty on future systems, but so far that's been my favorite, breakout clone. Batty on Spectrum has been my one winner of that genre. Here's Mighty Bomb Jack, the third Bomb Jack game. Released for the NES in 1986. I kind of missed this the first time I was reading it. I'm just seeing this for the first time now. Why? Obviously, if Elite Systems made Bomb Jack, they would have made it on every port. But I missed that they talked about the NES version. I should check that out. Okay, here I am checking it out, the Nintendo version. I guess Mighty Bomb Jack is different than Bomb Jack. Maybe it's more of a sequel, unless they just wanted to deviate a little bit. But on Nintendo, it is quite different from the arcade game. It's not a single screen game. It's more of a side-scrolling platform game, like Mario would be, except for the mechanics are Bomb Jack, which means your jump is incredibly floaty, and you can kind of hover in the air by tapping the button. It's really fun. I've gotten into Bomb Jack since I've been, playing it in the last couple of magazines, and I think it is an underrated game. Didn't give it much thought back in the day. Now that I think about it, this is a good opportunity for me to plug my other series. I've been playing Nintendo games for 5 minutes and reviewing them, and Bomb Jack would have been a game I did a long time ago, so I should review that footage and see what I thought of it at the time. Right now, I'll say I give this game a 1 out of 1, and it is an excellent Nintendo game that I'd recommend. Would be happy to have back in the old days. But I'm curious what I thought about it, years ago when I reviewed it. We'll check that out in a second. Whoops, silly me. Just got back from reviewing my Nintendo videos, and I haven't gotten to Mighty Bomb Jack yet. I was thinking Bomb Jack is in the B's, but it's Mighty Bomb Jack, which I will review later. I'm currently in the ME zone. I just did Menace Beach and Metal Gear Solid. So Mighty Bomb Jack is still on the way. But playing it here ahead of time, I think I'm gonna like it. And then they made this Super Nintendo game called Dr. Franken, which I have never heard of and never seen. I've played a lot of Super Nintendo games in my day, and I thought I would have played all of them by now, but still I find these kind of games that I've never heard of, like Dr. Franken. I skipped through the story to get to the game, but it's a bizarre game where you are Frankenstein's monster and you have a huge sprite for like the size of what you expect, and it's like a exploration-based platforming game where you run around this mansion trying to collect items and you fight other monsters like mummies and bats and vampires and who knows what else. The annoying is the best way I could explain this game. It seems to have good graphics, and the controls are actually pretty good. But because your sprite is so enormous, you constantly get hit without being able to do anything. Like, you can see the movement speed is pretty fast, and you will run into the side of the screen, and the screen will just spawn an enemy like that like, Grim Reaper comes out. Now, this is like my third attempt. Like, I've already died a couple of times. So I memorized where a lot of the enemies are, and I kind of progress slowly in those directions and try to attack a lot. But in many cases, you really need to know the enemy is going to appear to be able to hit them properly and kill them. And some enemies take more than one hit to kill, and they will certainly hit you. Now, that being said, the life bar is pretty generous, and you do get health refills in the form of battery packs. The biggest problem I had with this game is I felt like I completed the first level, but didn't know what to do. So, like, on the bottom right of the screen, you see I'm collecting some kind of a item, and as I get pieces of it, that puzzle comes together. There's 4 pieces total, so I need 1 more piece. But once I complete the whole puzzle, I had no idea what to do, and I ran out of time. And the timer is pretty tight, so you see I'm 1 piece short right now, or I just got all the pieces. So it says F bone down there. And I have only a minute left to spare. That's pretty tight, considering this is my 3rd try. So I knew where some of the pieces already were, and I went directly to them. But they're like basically on the 4 corners of this multi-level mansion. But yeah, I just kind of timed out here, didn't know what to do next. But potentially this isn't a bad game if you don't mind memorizing the enemy placements. But it's also definitely not a good game. And I played Caveman Ninja or Joe and Mac on Super Nintendo for one of these magazines. I forgot which one, but I actually played a lot of Joe and Mac when I was young. A friend of mine had it, and we played it often on sleepovers. I think I want to say we beat the first Joe and Mac on Super Nintendo. There's no exclusive cover this time. What are they showing me here? Because just that gold stuff on the bottom? What do I got here? Let me see. I have no gold stuff. So I have this cover, and then this is the on the shelf cover. They just have they just took the stuff off. That's not that cool, guys. I like how I don't know if they do this on purpose, but Chaos Engine was just featured in the Amiga issue, which is 2 months ago. I guess maybe that's just coincidence, but this is Chaos Engine 2. Now, having played Chaos Engine on Super Nintendo, and then also playing it for Amiga, I never knew that there was a sequel. So that's cool. So I got a friend over to play it together, and we were messing around with it, and there's some cool stuff. I mean, I read the article, so I know what's cool about it is the characters aren't limited to one screen. They can split up, and you actually get some split-screen gameplay where both characters can split up and do different aspects of the level. And it looks like that's a really core part of it, is splitting up and doing, opening each other's doors and hitting switches differently at the same time. Really cool. I mean, we were pretty confused in the level we played, like, what are we supposed to do? But we beat level 1, I think. We might have even beat level 2 with the way we were playing. It was fun. The game, the gameplay is the same as you're used to, except for more puzzly instead of and a little bit less action. At least for the first couple levels, maybe the action picks up. But the graphics is awesome, and this would have been a really fun co-op game back in the day. And I do finally get Cover Mount Corner. They pick an old magazine and then re-review some of the highlights of that magazine. But what magazine they pick is completely different every time. So in this case, they're picking this magazine called ST Format, and they're talking about some of the games in that mag. And this is Populous, which is a game I actually had and played on my Mac a lot. Populous 2 on Mac. I played the hell out of that game. I remember it being really enjoyable, and I never really had any idea how to play it. I mean, I kind of did, but I was really just clicking on stuff and making... You're like a god, and you do natural disasters on the enemy god's little minions. And, yeah, you make fire and tidal waves and tornadoes. It's cool. It's like, torturing little digital people. It's a great little kid thing to do, like, killing ants or whatever. Not that I killed ants. I was an insect lover. I did not kill ants. I just know kids do that. Not this kid. Other kids did that. Wanted to jump in here and just describe the gameplay a little bit for those who don't get it. So it's a god simulator. So every level is you versus another god, red versus blue, basically, and you're always blue. And you want to maximize your population by killing all the enemy people. And you do that basically by making a flat land area. So you go in and you make as much flat land as possible, and then they build big buildings on there. And the bigger the buildings are, the more people live there, and the higher your population is. Which means you want to go and, while flattening your land and making sure that it's fertile, you want to go and mess with the opponent's land by making fire in their land, or blizzards, or hurricanes, or earthquakes. And every level has an arbitrary set of magical spells you can cast. This is one of the very early levels, so basically all I have is this fire. But later you get, like I said, earthquakes and volcanoes, and those things all take magic energy, which I don't know how it's generated, but it has something to do with your population. So like the more successful your people are, the more magic they make, so you can go cast more spells. Now the opponent is doing the same thing back. He's casting spells on you. And there's a lot of other stuff going on here, like sending heroes to go fight, and tidal waves and whatever else. But there's just tons and tons of levels of this game, and the graphics are cute, and it's fun. I played it for hours and hours when I was a kid. Justin Leeper, Leeper. I saw that. Like, he looks like a leper with the cloak on here. Justin Leeper has a really interesting history. Like, I never knew who he was. Like most of these, I don't know who these people are, but he was a magazine writer for, I forgot what, like Game Informer, like a popular magazine. Game Informer, yeah. And then he was also like an actor, and he acted in some games, and he was also a wrestler. And he, where's a picture of him wrestling? Where is it? There. He's a wrestler, and he's like a big dude. And he actually ended up doing a bunch of motion capture work for some, like he became a motion capture, like informant, or I don't know what you call it, like a coach for WWE games. So I don't know how, I forgot how he got there, but he was, doing magazine work, and then he got involved with a wrestling game, and he actually worked on the production of the wrestling game as a mocap guy. And then he was a motion capture actor in Death Stranding. He played like some characters through motion capture in Death Stranding, on top of being like a big, magazine writer. Really cool, really awesome that he like catapulted himself into that role. That's so cool. Very awesome. There's an article about a new Aleste game in the arcades. M2's Senzin Aleste, which is it's on arcade. It's a new arcade release. And, obviously I haven't seen it or played it. Aleste is a shmup series. My experience with it is primarily with the Super Nintendo game Space Megaforce. I think that's called Aleste it's certainly called Aleste in Japan. I don't know about Europe. But in America, it was released as Space Megaforce, which is a really excellent, one of the best, maybe, Super Nintendo shoot-'em-up games. And one of the big features they have is homing lightning. Like, I know that's one of their big things. Having a lot of different weapons. The weapon power-up is like floats on the screen, and it changes as you wait. So like weapon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they count up to however many they have, and you pick it up, and that's a weapon you get. Space Megaforce had like 9 different weapons, and one of them is homing lasers. And I know that a lot of other games have that, and there's a a Nintendo game that is also an Aleste title that doesn't have that name in America, but it has homing lasers. And that's how I know that it's an Aleste game. I forgot what that game is called. Anyway, point being, all of their shoot-'em-ups are very good. Space Megaforce is excellent, and this game looks really good. But unfortunately, I cannot play it at this point, so I didn't. Oh boy, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 3. What a treat. You know, like I always say, if there's a Mortal Kombat feature, I'm going to get some friends over here to play it. So we planned a weekend. This weekend, I'm recording this on a Sunday. We were going to play some serious matches of this, and one of my friends got sick, so we had to skip. So the plan is to play it next weekend. You'll be seeing that footage of me doing that right now. Mortal Kombat is a very special and important piece of my childhood. This is a game that I played with a lot of my friends over my formative years during middle school, elementary, all the way up through high school. We played a hell of a lot of Mortal Kombat, and it was one of those games, like when a new one was announced, we were like waiting for it, overnight at GameStop. I don't know, we never actually literally did that, but this would have been the game that we were all anticipating, up until Mortal Kombat 4 came out. I mean, we were like that about 4 as well, but 4 was kind of bad. But Mortal Kombat Trilogy was the last really good one, and I primarily played it on N64, which gameplay-wise, they feel the same. I know they have slightly different features. I didn't compare them side to side. Like, I don't think Shao Kahn and Goro were in the N64 version. I think this one has more characters. It also has you can push start or select on the character select screen on some characters to flip them to their old versions. Like I know Jax has the Mortal Kombat 2 Jax, and Raiden has Mortal Kombat 1 Raiden, which is super cool. So PlayStation has more characters, which probably gives it the nod for being the better game, but it does also have loading times. And the N64 version has no loading times, which in a fighting game like this, the last thing you want to do is pick your characters and then just wait for 5 to 7 seconds for the battle to start. Like, it's pretty unacceptable, But yeah, I mean, that's the way a PlayStation was. We put on the single button fatalities cheat, so I don't have to print out the fatality list. And we couldn't get any of them to work. Like, you need to know the distances still, like close, sweep, far, to push the button, and then you had to push the right button. We actually never got a chance to do any of the fatalities, unfortunately, except for one of them, which you'll see at the end of this, which my friend memorized from his childhood, never forgot, which is awesome how much of our brain space is captured by knowing how to do the moves of Mortal Kombat, in Street Fighter. Hilarious. Who's your favorite character? Why don't you let me know in the comments? I did, so I was really curious. They talk about all the conversions of Mortal Kombat that came out, and for some reason this time I got real, pissed, kind of, about this article right here. They're talking about the Game Gear version, and this is a throwback to that previous Doom SNES port. Why port Mortal Kombat 3 to Game Gear or Game Boy? Or Master System, even. These systems that have no business having a good fighting game on them. They can't do it. It's impossible. And they did it anyway, and it is so cruel to the kids that bought these games. Because there's nothing redeemable about these versions. They're horrible. And I played the Game Gear version because I was just curious, what the monstrosity looked like. And it's maybe even worse than I thought. It plays worse than I thought. And you're a kid's parent, and or your grandparent, help you, and Mortal Kombat is the hottest property, and your kid has a Game Boy or a Game Gear, so you get a Mortal Kombat thinking you're doing them this favor, and you're you're spending $50 of 1990s currency, which is I don't know, probably $100 today, and you get Mortal Kombat on Game Gear, and it's so bad. It's such a toxic game to play. It's exploitative, you know? And now, like nowadays, that won't really happen. I mean, for a lot of reasons, because handhelds are way more powerful. But mostly, it's because people are savvy now. They know that the hardware capabilities of, you know, like the Nintendo, even the Switch. Like people all know that the Switch port of a modern game is worse than the other ones. But even then, like they're comparable. You know, like I know that Doom 2016 came out on Switch, and there were some compromises, but I've seen it. You know, and it's like, okay, this is fine. Like Mortal Kombat on Game Gear is not even in the same field as what it appears on PlayStation, you know, or arcade. I think it's a exploitative cash grab, and I think companies that did that are bullshit. Like I think that was a scam, basically. They ran a scam at that time. These horrible Game Gear ports are a scam. So, and I played it, and I agree. And I agree with myself. I validate my own feelings that that's bullshit and that game is complete garbage and never should have been launched. Now, you know, again, if that's your job, like to make Mortal Kombat work on Game Gear, I think they, you know, did the best they could. That was never a decision that should have been made. You know, like I work at a company now, and my company makes decisions that I think are bad, and I still work on those projects. You know, I still have to do my best, but mistakes were made. And the money that those ports makes in sales, every one of those sales is a disappointed child. And that's like reverse Santa Claus work. Okay? So that's how I feel. Here's a little Game Boy action, a Game Boy Pocket. And I never had a portable system when I was a kid. It was all home console gaming. So I have no nostalgia for Game Boy games. And Game Boy, you know, Game Boy Advanced games even. Never played them back, you know, in their contemporary time. And it's hard to go back to Game Boy games now. But, you know, on this page we have Mario. I actually had to look what this game up, what this is, but it's Mario the Legend of the Coins, or the Legend of the Six Coins, or whatever. But the second Mario game that came out. The first Mario game looks a lot more primitive than this. This is like more Mario 3 style looking, which is much better and plays a lot faster. This game was great. I was surprised at how good it was. I really liked the controls were good. You got your classic enemies. The first Mario game on Game Boy was really detached from like what you expect of the Mario universe. Like the enemies were weird. The way the fire flower worked was bizarre. Like the bullets kind of bounced down and then bounced up. It was strange. It felt like wrong. It had very different aesthetic. This one is more of a Mario game and fits. Except for you get a carrot as a power-up, and that gives you bunny ears on your hat, and then the bunny ears let you flap them to float. I mean, I guess every Mario game has a totally different flying mechanic. So this is just another one, right? Like Mario 3, you had a raccoon tail. Super Mario, you get a cape. In Mario 64, you get a hat with wings. So I guess this is the hat with wings where it started. But yeah, fun game. Fun Mario game, and I think still a very playable Mario game today. I would recommend it. And then here is Contra. Now I actually look at this. I'm reading this now. I wrote down Contra on Game Boy. And the game I played was Contra the Alien Wars on Game Boy. But this is Super C. So I guess I actually played the wrong game. And there were multiple games on the multiple Contra games. I must have just completely missed that. But Contra Alien Wars on Game Boy hits all the beats. I was surprised at how accurate it was to what the Super Nintendo game was. Great job, guys. That's an excellent Contra experience on the go. And now I am curious to play Operation C. This was a very exciting article about Heretic and Hexen. Heretic and Hexen are games that use the Doom engine, but reskin it to be like a fantasy, a fantasy game. So it's a first-person shooter, but fantasy. Very cool. At the time, there was really nothing like that. Like, I can't think of any shooter, other than these two, obviously, shooters that were fantasy-themed. And I can think of a lot that are modern or sci-fi themed, like Modern War, like Call of Duty style. So, I love these games when I was a kid. I thought it was so cool to be like a wizard or having a mace, like a melee weapon. And now I play the brutal versions of them. Brutal Doom, the engine lets you play these as well, and they're awesome. So I'll show you some of that footage right here, right now. Heretic is such a fun implementation of Doom that it's really hard to get over. How it's so fascinating just to play it and go, oh, I wonder how they did the chainsaw, or I wonder what the rocket launcher is, because it really is a one-for-one. Like, every weapon has been just reimagined as a fantasy wizard tool. Like here I'm using the crossbow, which is a shotgun, basically. And then I don't think I used a chainsaw here, but the chainsaw is electric gauntlets. So you have these two metal arms come out, and they have like blue lightning shoot out of them, and you grab people and electrocute them. It's so cool. I never got to like the plasma cannon or the BFG. I am curious what those are like. But all of it is super interesting. And then I'm playing this through Brutal Doom, not the original. And I think one of the only big changes is you can look up and down in Brutal Doom. In the original, I don't think you can look up and down. Like, you can see up above you, but the bullets just aim up. You don't actually move your perspective. That's one of the quality of life things that Brutal Doom adds. But, you don't have to play it this way. You can definitely get it from Good Old Games or Steam, and they just released a remaster of these games, and they include a lot of content. Definitely worth checking them out. I ended up playing this for like an hour and a half, which, is a lot for me when I'm trying to capture footage for this project. I typically don't spend longer than 10 minutes with a game, but I got kind of sucked into this, and Hexen too. So, yeah, definitely check it out. Now, Hexen, the sequel, is more the same in a way, but also this one adds a character select screen. So in this one, you can pick if you want to be a warrior, a wizard, or a cleric, and that's really awesome. So there's multiple ways to play the game. In this run right now, I'm a warrior, and he starts with just his big fists, and I don't think I even unlock any other weapons outside of it, but he gets an axe that shoots like bolts out of it, so you swing it and things come out, kind of like a shotgun. And then he gets a sword, and they do different stuff. The wizard starts with the same kind of wizard wand that you saw in Heretic. That's what the wizard starts with, but he has at least hit points and walks slow. And the cleric starts with a mace, and you get different weapons. I actually don't know how far this game goes. I played this a little bit less than Heretic. It didn't suck me in as much, but it is fun to pick a character. I think that adds a lot of fun where the weapon set you get is different, It is kind of interesting to play this as a melee game, though. Like, the punching feels really different. I mean, you can punch in Doom, too, but, like, you never, ever punch in Doom. You use the chainsaw sometimes, but the chainsaw, like, stun locks enemies. Your fists don't do that as much, so you gotta kind of get in there and then back up, and get in there and back up. So it's, a different kind of vibe. Other than that, though, the game really plays the same and uses a lot of the similar. Like, you can see these flying bats are almost the same creature as the flying red demons, which remind me a lot of the red Aramers from Ghosts and Goblins, the red ones. That's actually pretty interesting. I guess that's what red demons look like throughout a bunch of games, but certainly a red Aramer vibe off that guy. This is a brutal Hexen as well, using the same engine. I mean, I want to say that if you're going to play one, because they are very similar, you should play Hexen.
The picking characters is fun, and this has... Oh, another thing that's different about Hexen is it uses a hub world. So Heretic is very level-based. In Hexen, you beat level 1, and then you go to a hub, and you get to, like... Through the hub, you find other levels. So you gotta solve this hub puzzle. That might be more annoying or less annoying, depending on how you feel. I think, like, a level-based structure is certainly less annoying, because you don't need to figure anything out. But adding kind of an open-world puzzle element, you know, that's interesting, too. So... I like seeing the experimentation. The games are all 10 out of 10s, so check it out.
They are doing some kind of a remaster of these games. I heard some buzz about it. I'm not like that tapped in. But if you, on good old games, you can buy Heretic and Hexen like as a big package, and now they've added a bunch of new content, I think, or at least, you know, revamped it a little bit. I had no idea there was a Hexen 2 that was released on PC, and I think it uses the Unreal Engine. Here's some screenshots of that. I didn't get a chance to play that, unfortunately, but it looks pretty awesome. And if it's like the games, I mean, then I think it's excellent. Worth a try. I wonder if it's included in those collections. I'm not sure. And then there's even another one. This is, what is this game here? This is like a third-person game. It's called something else. I had it written down somewhere. I thought I did. I thought I highlighted it. I don't know. Oh, here. No. Anyway, sorry. There is some other game here. There's a story here that... So, I'm not telling you what's going on in the article. There's two companies here. There's ID Software, which made Doom, and there's Raven Software, which made Hexen and Heretic in partnership with ID, id. I think it like to be called id Software. And John Romero, who's, of course, one of the heroes of Doom, he went to their office, and their office was really, like, lackluster, and they didn't even have a refrigerator full of snacks and drinks. So John Romero took it upon himself to buy them a refrigerator and fill it with snacks and drinks so they can, code the game properly. So that's a pretty cool move for him, and that's the refrigerator story. I guess it's not like much of a story, but it is cool. Like, he just, you don't have a fridge, and then the next day he just rolls in with the fridge fully stocked. That's cool. That's a cool move. The heck is this? Crumbs? Was eating a cookie? Virtual Boy. First time this has been mentioned in this magazine. Virtual Boy is Nintendo's literally red-headed stepchild that they don't talk about or promote. They just announced, or not just, but they announced recently that they're going to bring Virtual Boy to the Switch. Or, the virtual games to the Switch. That is pretty cool. And, the Virtual Boy, I've emulated it and messed around with it. There's like, the whole catalog of Virtual Boy games is like, there's like less than 20 games, I think, all together. So, it's not much, and you can play the entire library pretty quick. And so here they're talking about Wario Land. I have played this game before when I was exploring the catalog, and I'm like, oh, this is actually like maybe the only game with any depth. Yeah, I might be wrong there, but it's like very few. Like, there's the games that I remember on Virtual Boy is a tennis game. There's some shmup game that's pretty rudimentary. Mario Clash, which is kind of a throwback to the original Mario Brothers with the POW, but it's one player and you're doing this kind of like a 3D mechanic. It's pretty cool, but it's really just an arcade game. It's light. Waterworld, which is an arcade game, kind of like, Space Invaders, but 3D on water. There's a Tetris game. These are just games I'm naming. And the Snow Brothers, or what, the three brothers in the top-down view where you're like doing a maze, also feels very arcadey. So Wario Land is like the Mario game, really, and Wario Land on Game Boy Advance is awesome. And this game's awesome, too. I'm happy to check it out. Now we get into some of this Star Wars action for the reason I have my playmat with my boy Luke on it. Looking at some Star Wars games. So it's about Star Wars The Phantom Menace, the making of on PlayStation. It's a game I've never played. I mean, I can't say I haven't heard of it. I know there's a lot of Star Wars games, and they all kind of, if you haven't played them, they melt together. Like, there's a ton of Star Wars games on PlayStation. And this is one of them. From what there's a couple of post-its I have on here that are interesting. So one is, the movie wasn't out yet when they were building it. And they didn't get a chance to see any of the scenes. They got some like sketches of what the environments look like, but they don't know what actually happens in the movie. So they had to really build the game from imagination. And there were a bunch of other games being produced at the same time, and they couldn't use content that were reserved for the other games. So one of the big examples of that is Episode 1 Racer on N64 made it so they couldn't have a pod racing game or really reference the pod racing much at all in their game. And that happened apparently a bunch of times. So they were, on top of not having the plot, not having any assets, they also couldn't do a bunch of stuff that they did have plot points for. Like, there is a pod race. Well, you can't do that, though. You know, there is maybe this kind of battle or whatever. They can't do that. And the game got pretty bad reviews, and it didn't do very well. And it got a 1 out of 5 stars in the issue in Edge. Called the game a nightmare from start to finish. Ooh, brutal. And then here it says that the working on the property was awkward even for the filmmakers. And the people on the film commented on how they disagreed with many of the decisions, like the midi-chlorians and the Jar Jar Binks. And they all thought that would be changed in editing, but it ended up all making it to the film. And, you know, if you know the history of Episode 1, it's not a very fondly considered movie nowadays. I mean, it's hard for me to remember how I felt about it at first.
They agreed to leave.
The Darth Maul battle was awesome, and Darth Maul was a cool-looking enemy. And it's interesting to think about, like, when this came out, it was I was in high school, I think. And, yeah, 2001, about there, 2000. So I was, mid-high school for me. And I remember thinking, oh, Darth Maul is cool-looking, and he is a cool enemy. He's got a double-sided lightsaber, and that is badass. And that's about as far as my thinking really went. And I suppose for kids, if that's what you want to do, and that's good. I do remember just despising Jar Jar Binks, though, and everybody I knew despised him. And I wonder if that's a high school thing. Like, high school kids hate these ridiculous, Jar Jar Binks cartoon character. Maybe, like, younger kids liked him, and then the older kids thought Darth Maul was edgy and cool. I don't know what they were thinking. It seems like the whole Gungan thing and the Jar Jar cartoon character was a weird move. But, now looking back at Episode 1 as an adult, I think it's terrible. I think that movie sucks. Very bad. Anyway, other games in the genre here, I didn't play all of them, but I did want to play a couple. Primarily Episode 1 Racer and Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, because they are both co-op games, or competitive, I guess, for racers. But I wanted to play these with a friend, and both of the friends I played them with had different histories with those games. So my commentary will be in that footage for those. So here I am playing Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. You've seen this for a little bit now. And it starts just how the movie starts, with Anakin and Qui-Gon busting out of this robotic facility. And this one, it's very clunky. It plays very clunkily, I would say. Is it a nightmare from start to finish, like the review? I don't know if I can be that brutal, but it's just not very good. Like, there's a lot of weird, like, graphical glitches. It looks not very smooth. It feels janky, very much so. I wouldn't recommend playing it. And in a second here, I'm going to switch over to Jedi Power Battles, which is almost the same game, but, like, what if this game was good?
which is a really interesting way to see things. So here I'm switching to power battles because they both came out around the same time. They both have almost the same name. I actually accidentally ended up booting power battles instead of the Phantom Menace when I started, and it's hard to tell the difference other than knowing the difference. So they both start in the exact same scene, you busting out of the robotics facility, except for in this game you get to pick what Jedi you want to be out of a variety, including Mace Windu and Plo Koon and some other ones that, if you know the Star Wars lore, maybe you're more familiar with. And that's cool, and it's also, this game is co-op, so you can play it with a friend. So two of you, kind of like in that last scene you sounded playing with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, that's not a two-player game, even though there are two Jedis. Here, I'm playing that two Jedi scene with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but I'm only Obi-Wan. I could have Qui-Gon with me, my friend playing alongside me, and that is very fun. Another thing is that all of the Jedis play differently. Like, I tried this with two different Jedis, and they actually have different lightsaber moves. Like, when you push, there's 3 attack buttons, and running attacks. You can see me practicing a few attacks here. They are different depending on what Jedi you pick. So there's a reason for you to experiment with the Jedi you like the best, or, playing through the game with different Jedis. I think that's awesome. But really, this game plays so much better. Like, the way it's quicker, it's so much faster. You run fast, you attack quick. You feel like a Jedi sword fighter, not like a clunky little soldier. I think this one has a much more natural control scheme. Like, you just point in the direction and walk. The last one had tank controls. So it played kind of like Resident Evil, but a Jedi game. And one thing about Resident Evil is the controls are clunky as hell. And in that game on purpose. Like in a survival horror game, you kind of want to be scared about movement and be awkward. In a Jedi game, you want movement to feel more like Ninja Gaiden. Like, you want your Jedi to be a badass, right? So a good movement maybe is one of the best features of this game, and the co-op. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a Star Wars experience for the first episode, it's definitely going to be this one. You know what I mean? But yeah, you guys have any experience with Jedi Episode 1 Menace or Power Battles? I do not. I really did not play either of these games when I was a kid. So I'm just exploring them, today. And this one is the one I would play if I, was starting up. Sorry, everyone, that the footage here doesn't have any audio for Pod Racer, but you're actually not missing much because the pod races themselves don't have any music, even though they got the Star Wars license. They just don't have music during the races. It's actually so insane. At first I thought maybe my ROM was bad, so I watched a YouTube video of a long play, and it doesn't have music. There's music in the menus and in the title screen, but not during the race. Just the sounds of metal, engines, and aliens shouting random slurs that you don't understand. So you're not missing very much. But I wanted to show off this game a little bit. This level of the desert looks pretty good, and it looks like you're playing a cool game. But then I switched to this level, and this is a 6-person race now. That was just a one-on-one race. This is like a championship race with me and a friend playing split screen and 4 other racers. Look how bad this plays. Look at the frame rate. Look at the embarrassing draw distance. The N64 just cannot handle this game at full bore. It cannot. It's unplayable. You can see me crashing into every railing because I'm overcompensating so bad. I really can't play it. It's so awkward and bad because of the frame rate being so low and choppy, and the draw distance being so insane. And then I did switch over, okay, maybe it's intended for single person play, and this obviously looks and plays a lot better. But I want to play with a friend. It's not like I want to play this single player all the time. Maybe some people do. But here's a real remarkable find. This game actually came out on Dreamcast too. And I'm like, let's check it out on Dreamcast. So I did put it in. And I want to show it to you guys because it's head and shoulders better than what we got on N64. I mean, I'm sure Dreamcast owners knew this game came out, but I always thought of this game as an N64 game. I never even considered it as... I know it's not on PlayStation, and that's kind of it for me, right? But this is the same map. This is the exact same map with the choppiness, and now we're playing a 2-player with all the competitors, and look at how much smoother it goes. Look at the draw distance. You don't see any pop-in. It's playing very smoothly, and there is music during the race. So if you're going to play Pod Racer and you've never played it on Dreamcast before, do yourself a favor and play it on Dreamcast. Did I say Podcaster? Pod Racer is what I meant. But I was thinking about it, like, is it a fun game? Yeah, it's a playable game. It reminds me of F-Zero, and it reminds me of Wipeout. And both of those games are so much better than this. And it's like, why are they better? Because this game has nothing in it. This is the most bare-bones racing game in the world. There's no, like, Mario Kart-style power-ups like Wipeout has. There's no cool mechanics with taking sharp corners like F-Zero has, or boosts. I mean, unless I'm missing something. But we played this for a good 45 minutes, and we were like, wait, is this really all there is? There's no boosting, or... There is you can press one of the C buttons on N64, a C button, to turn your engines vertical. You can do that, like in Star Fox, to turn sideways. But it doesn't really do anything. It just, I think, is just to get through really narrow corridors. Like, it doesn't make you turn sharper, so... It's like just an aesthetic move. I'm not really understanding it. But other than that, there's no boost. There's no power-up boxes you get. Just what you see is what you get. It's a floating, airship-style racing game. But, like, in 2025, why would I play this over F-Zero or Wipeout? I wouldn't. So, there you go. Here's the Music Memories article of Metropolis Street Racer, and that's a Dreamcast game that actually sounds so cool that it prompted me to investigate if I can play it. So this what got me like, I actually can play Dreamcast games. And what's cool about this game, I highlight here, is it has dynamic day-night cycles that work with the Dreamcast internal clock, so that races in any of the game's 3 real-world cities would take place at the actual time in those cities. So there's Tokyo, San Francisco, and I forgot the third. But when you go to that race, you get the right time. And then if you go to a different race, it's like, so Tokyo and San Francisco is an excellent example, because they're opposite ends of the world. You can have a night race in Tokyo, and then the next race in San Francisco will be day. And that's based on the actual clock of what time it is for you now. So that's really cool and innovative, I think. And then also, each of the MSR's 3 cities, London, San Francisco, and Tokyo, featured unique radio stations populated by local DJs, real-life radio advertisements, and a selection of region-specific songs. So that's so cool. So the game had unique time and unique sound for every city, unique to that city. Saying unique twice in one sentence. Really cool. I'm a big fan of the way Grand Theft Auto does their radio stations, and they have advertisements and, advertorials in the ads and talk shows. That's a really cool touch that really grounds the game, I think. It makes it real. And it gives it, it's fun to just sit in my car on Grand Theft Auto and just listen to the radio. I've done that. It's awesome. But, this game is a really awesome racing game, and it was fun to play, and I'm glad that I kind of broke the seal on Dreamcast games, and this prompted me to do that. And another thing I'm going to do, I think, now, is during a Music Memories article, I will find a soundtrack sample of that music memory and play it. I don't know why it took me 5 of these to come to that brilliant idea, but I'm going to do that now. And in this case, I actually reached out to the author here, James Takio, hope I'm saying that right, and I asked him what his favorite track is from this game, and he told me, but also
he has his own YouTube channel where he really, he does a lot of Dreamcast stuff. He's got basically a Dreamcast YouTube channel, and he has his favorite song on a channel on a. He has the song he recommended in one of his playlists, which I'll play for you here. So check it out. What a segue from talking about Grand Theft Auto's radios to Rockstar's Bully. I never played the game Bully. I knew it was out, and I knew it was sort of like a precursor to Grand Theft Auto, I guess, to the modern Grand Theft Auto, in that it's an open-world game with missions, mission-based gameplay of, like, you talk to people and you get a mission from them, and you can otherwise navigate the world with a bunch of different mini-games. I knew it was doing that, but it wasn't a game I was interested in. I don't know why. It just wasn't a game that got me. But this talks about... This is actually a sad article to me. And they're talking about how horrible the working conditions were while they were working on this game. And it was a couple of people who were interviewed here. And here is, I think, Andrew here says, It was brutal times, especially near the end. We were working 7 days a week, averaging 18-hour days. It just burned people out. We had a lot of turnover. But I decided to stay because I just knew the project was going to be something different and something special. Like, that's insane. 7 days a week, 18-hour days to get this game out. Like, that's such... Like, how many bad decisions had to be made for that kind of a crunch to occur? You know, like, it's such a disaster. And now later in this article, like, I was reading through this going, what bullshit? You know, that's so rude and rotten. The people who worked on it did get a sizable bonus, they said, and some extra time off afterwards, which I appreciate. But, you know, a lot of companies don't do that. Like, they still have the 7 days a week, 18-hour days, or you lose your job, you know? And even at, like I said, I work at a software company. That behavior is so normalized where it's like, oh, you know, the deadline is the deadline, and you're kind of like peer pressured into working extra to meet the deadline. And there's no overtime. You know, like, if you're a salary person, you're expected to get the project done, or you get a bad, you know, review or whatever, like assessment, which could cost you a raise, could cost you a promotion. But those are all, you know, intangible and maybes. But the work you put in is real and takes away from your family and adds to your stress. And I've never gotten close to working 7 days a week, 18-hour days. I can't imagine that. You know, like, that's so bad. So I dislike that, and I don't like that Rockstar has that mentality. That's really gross. This talks a lot about the Bully theme. I know nothing about the Bully soundtrack, but this made it sound really special by this guy Sean Lee. He did the Bully soundtrack, and the instruments they used in here, I should have highlighted it, but it's, first off, a glockenspiel was used. I don't know what the hell a glockenspiel is, but I'm curious. And a kawaii toy piano were used as the primary voices of this theme. So it's like, well, I gotta check that out. So I'll play that for you.
Jimmy, please say something.
James?
What? Who are you? Mom, I thought you told me never to talk to strangers.
Like I said before, Jimmy, please be nice to your new stepfather.
Okay, rich guy. I love it that you're twice as old as my grandfather and you're fat and bald.
That's enough! I've had it with you, you little brat!
You've upset your mother. I've got half a mind to beat you.
Half a mind is right. Suddenly he realizes.
I can't believe you, you little monster. We'll deal with you when we get back from our honeymoon. Next year.
Here we are, boy. Bullworth Academy. Have fun, Jimmy. I'll think of you from our cruise ship.
Whatever.
Bully does seem like a really fun game. I looked it up on eBay, and it's only about $20 for me to get on 360. I actually, I didn't buy it for this magazine, but I added it to my list. I would like to see that game. Let's see what else I highlighted here. The production of Bully was defined by another running battle. I don't think the capitalist, hardworking mindset from New York really gelled well with the more relaxed West Coast mindset, so there were a lot of clashes, says Andrew. We saw a lot of people leave. The relationship was very strained. So they had, the Vancouver office was building this game, and Rockstar, I guess, had New York offices. And, I feel like he's being nice here. He's being nice here, but what he's really saying is the management's hardworking mindset didn't gel with the working class developers. That's what I'm reading here.
And I think that's, the same thing. Like, management's like, oh, you guys have to work twice as hard and twice as long to get our game out so we can sell millions and millions of this game. And you guys just get your salaries, except for your work. Like, just think about, those of you who are in the know, you don't need this, but imagine what happens to your hourly rate that you expect when it's stretched through a 7-day week, 18-hour day, Like, you're hired the expectation is you're hired to work a 40-hour work week. Let's say you get paid, I don't know how much developers on Rockstar get paid in the 90s, but let's say it's like, $90K. Maybe that's off, I don't know. $90K for 40 hours a week. Well, what if you triple the hours? Well, now all of a sudden that job really sucks. You know what I mean? Like, now it's like, oh, I'm a developer and I get paid, my hourly rate is X. You divide that by 3 now because you work that many more hours. Like, it's terrible. Like I said, they do get sizable bonuses, it says at the end, but I really don't like hearing about that crunch stuff. I think it's a really disgusting practice, and they should, like, I'd rather the game be delayed. Like, I would be happy for the game to be delayed, and people aren't doing that, Anyway, let's keep reading what I got here. Rockstar was a very different company. The concern was about the game over the employees. It was tough. Yeah, that's bullshit. A couple of people had mental breakdowns. It's like, can you imagine? Like, if you don't like your job, just quit. Well, you can't quit. Like, I have 2 kids and a mortgage to pay. Like, if I hate my job, I can't quit. And if my job told me that I had to work 18-hour days or I don't have a job, I'd have to just do that. That's where we are. And that is so gross that people got so stressed out. They had mental breakdowns. And all of this to make a video game. Like, this isn't even like curing cancer or anything important. You're making a video game. And even if you look at it like, oh, video games make people happy, like, from that article with the Katamari guy, he's making video games to make people happy. There's some pursuit there. Rockstar is one of the most profitable video game companies in the world. Like, they don't give a shit about happiness. They're doing it for the money, and they're causing people to have mental breakdowns, working them 18-hour days to get rich, So I'm against that. I'm against that behavior. I think it's disgusting, and that makes me sick. So let me get off my soapbox. Only a couple more quotes to read here, guys, but I hope you agree with me. Like and share if you agree with me that that's bullshit. When we were pushing to release the game, we were revoked our lunch and our dinner breaks. When Bully was finally released, staff were rewarded with substantial bonuses and 3 months holiday. So, thank you very much, Rockstar, for doing the minimum needed to compensate your employees for their insanely hard work making this magnificent piece of art that is like a well-regarded video game with their sweat and blood, while you fat cats in New York, the capitalists in New York, just counted the millions of dollars they got. That's sad, man. That's a sad, sad article for me. And after ranting about it during this read-through, I don't think I even want to play Bully anymore, to be honest. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some DOS action. Never heard of this game, Stone Keep, although I did have it confused with Dungeon Master 2, The Legend of Skull Keep. But this is not Skull Keep, this is Stone Keep. But it does have the same gameplay as Legend of Skull Keep, which is a tile-based dungeon crawler. But this whole this article is about the FMV intro of Stone Keep. They say it's really funny and really cinematic. So I thought I would check that out and then play a little bit of this game.
Thanks, my lady.
Careful one, would you? Might it be this one? Perhaps it's this one.
think she loves me. Oh, terrible dragon, I slay thee in the name of fair maiden Elizabeth.
Down, Whoop, down! No! No! Whoop!
I am Thera, goddess of earth. Prepare yourself. Your journey awaits. You must descend to the lost city of Stonekeep and retrieve the 9 receptacles. To protect you from the magic of the darker realm, I must free your spirit from the confines of your body. Achieve your goal, and Stonekeep and I will be set free. Fail, and you shall be entombed by the forces of darkness forever.
I really love games like this, these tile-based grid crawlers. I just find something so charming about them, and it's so old school. The sense of discovery they have, like around every corner, you never know what's there. Every closed door is a mystery. The way the combat works, where you sort of sidestep and shuffle to fight, all of that is so cool. I played Dungeon Master 2, Legend of Skullkeep, a lot when I was a kid. And this game is, very much like that, but more of like an FMV flair, like it's more video and realistic. It feels really cool. I think the graphics here are neat. All I gotta do is kill ants, in the giant ants, in the gameplay I did, but I can see myself getting back into this and getting a guide or something so I know what I'm doing and kind of speeding through it. Very cool. And that opening cutscene is pretty awesome.
My champion will defeat you.
Your imprisonment is the start. You have escaped me once. You shall not escape me again. I have you now, and I will find the rest. Now back to your death. You are foolish to put your trust into this one, Thera. I will show you.
Here they're talking about Shinobi, The Art of Vengeance, the new Shinobi indie game that got released. And it's on all modern consoles by Lizard Cube. Lizard Cube, I don't quote me on this, but I think they made Streets of Rage. And that game's amazing. They also made this Shinobi game, which looks really good. I've seen some of the trailers and cutscenes. I have also watched a couple of YouTube videos of people saying it's not that good. But it's not that, but they're coming at it from a perspective of like, it's not enough like Shinobi. It lost too much of the Shinobi essence. And I haven't played this game, obviously, but in the last issue, which was the Shinobi issue, I did play a bunch of Shinobi games. And, I didn't play them too deeply, but maybe what is the Shinobi essence is a kind of a slow and deliberate gameplay style, maybe I would say, if I were to distill it after my minor amount of playing.
The first couple games were very much like a Rolling Thunder, hide behind a barrier and pop up and attack gameplay, and then the later games were less like that, but they were still very deliberate, and the controls were kind of awkward. I compare them maybe to Castlevania in the way that they behave. And the new game is a modern indie like platformer and is a lot more like Dead Cells maybe, or Blasphemous, which they talk about here, which is a Metroidvania game. And by that I mean it's like very fluid and fast. It looks very fluid and fast, and it does kind of feel like those other games. Like if this Shinobi game was a reskin of Dead Cells as a Shinobi game, I would be like, I buy it. But in saying that, you lose a lot of the character of what makes a Shinobi game. So I can definitely see, with no experience playing, where they're coming from. But that being said, is the game good in a vacuum? Like, I get that if you want to appeal to retro gamers who love Shinobi on arcade, it's very different, and that's not what they're looking for. But if you're just trying to if you're trying to bring Shinobi to a new audience, probably this is the right move. Like, you don't want an ultra hard, Dark Souls style old school platformer to bring to a 2025, because the design aesthetic of Shinobi is, in my opinion, kind of dated. So, I'll pick this game up at some point, I'm sure, and it looks really good graphically, and Lizard Cube has a very good track record. So, I think this is a buy. And obviously, Retro Gamer gives it a 90%, so, I just wanted to highlight there is a dissenting opinion on it, and that's kind of interesting. And then here is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, same exact thing there. I also got a 90%. So I've seen YouTube videos about Ninja Gaiden and how they're mad that it's so easy. The game's difficulty is too low, and Ninja Gaiden's supposed to be brutally hard. And, to that I say the same thing. Like, I think Ninja Gaiden's difficulty is better left in the past. And this game, lost some of that character, but it looks amazing again. It looks really good, and they're giving it 90%, and I will probably play that as well, and I think it's good. Ninja Gaiden, I think, is a little more of a robust series than Shinobi, maybe. I mean, there's, I think, less Ninja Gaiden games than Shinobi games, but it had sort of a renaissance in the Xbox and Xbox 360 era with Ninja Gaiden Black, and those games were also brutally hard, but very excellent 3D action games. Shinobi also had that PlayStation 2 game, but I don't think it went any further than that. Whereas Ninja Gaiden got a lot of, like, the 3D Ninja Gaiden reboot got a lot of sequels and a lot of traction. So maybe a better connection to the difficulty level of those games might have still carried this one, but I don't know. I'm sure it's good, and I don't really care that it's not hard enough. Maybe you can unlock a harder difficulty. This month in the Homebrew kit, we get a bunch of the Dreamcast Desires. They're porting a bunch of non-Dreamcast games to Dreamcast, like Wipeout, like GTA, like Doom, like Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart. Really cool projects. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how interested I am in those, because, like, why would I care? But if you're like a big Dreamcast fan and you only play Dreamcast, and now you can play some of these great games on a Dreamcast that you couldn't previously, I think that's pretty cool. Now, here's something I am really excited about. They talk about this website called yrgb.org, which is like a Russian website that hosts an annual ZX Spectrum homebrew competition. And they give out prizes for first, second, and third, and they're like $200. Like, I love how cute and like that small prizes. You can think, oh, it's a competition, but the amount of hours they have to spend to make a game to win $200 is like, obviously they're doing it, for the passion, and it shows, because the games that are on this are amazing. And they talk about this game Cubics, which won the 2025, and it's like basically it's like a Fez style game, where you're like a little cube and you can rotate the world you're in to, solve puzzles. Very impressive. From my limited experience with Spectrum, this game is so impressive. The perspective, the sense of perspective that it gives, the smooth controls, really, really impressive game.
definitely check it out if you're a Spectrum fan. In competition with that Cubics game, there was also this game, Asymmetry, which is like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, I guess you would say. You're like a woman in a bikini, and you can't tell from my gameplay, but like the way the game boots up, you're a bikini-clad woman. Actually, I'll probably show the boot-up sequence because it's so worth it. And you get you have like a mech backpack, and you get all these power-ups, and you fight through these levels. The colors are really cool. It plays really smooth. It looks like it would be bad because your character's hitbox is like just half a screen, but it works. The power-ups you get are so powerful that you actually fend off all the enemies, even though your sprite is enormous. But I love this game. I played it quite a bit. You can see here that I'm like on level 4, so I've been playing it for a while to get to where I am. It's super, super good. And then another game they had, the third place, was like this driving game, which I thought was kind of lackluster it didn't have any music. But I do like how they did this horizon color cutoff, so you get 2 different colors, and it feels pretty cool. The way the different cars, go into and out of frame perspective. They did a good job there too. I think it's a good arcade racer, despite being a little bit not as good as the other two. But that's why it got third, Yeah, really cool website though. I'm going to be going back every year to see who's winning that competition and that $200. They should whatever. I'll let them do their own thing. I was going to say, they should do a Patreon or something so they can get bigger rewards out. But who cares about the reward? They're not doing it for that. So. Other homebrew games, I didn't check out any of these because most of them cost money to buy. Not that I'm opposed to that, but last magazine cost me so much money that I'm trying to hold back on buying more games that I'll play for 5 minutes, Certainly a lot of good homebrew games coming out all the time, and this is one of my favorite places to check things out. Here they have a conversation about Total War. I can't participate because I wasn't in there. The October issue has this woman who collects horror games, and so that's pretty cool. She has a collection of horror games. Good for her. I've honestly, Resident Evil, she talks about it a lot. That's a game that I've never... Well, I've played it, but never seriously. Like, all my friends have it, and they were always, like, super into it when it came out, and I was always on at their house and on their screens, and I've seen it happen, but I've never actually played the game much. Beyond just goofing around, you know what I mean? Talk about a game falling through the cracks. Rapid Reload. This is, when looking at the screenshots, I'm like, well, how did I miss this game? Like, I have looked through, PlayStation Hidden Gems, PlayStation Essential Games, a lot. Never heard of it, never seen it. And it looks really good. It looks like a Metal Slug game. It looks like a treasure game, like Gunstar Heroes. And I've never heard of it. And, where has it been? One of the things that jumped out at me right away is there's no multiplayer mode, so you'll have to go it alone. Looking at the screenshot, so the cover art has 2 characters, this guy and this girl. They both have guns. The way the game looks, you have 1 life bar here, and then you have this blank spot where player 2 would definitely be. But they just, didn't make it 2-player. What the hell is up with that? Anyway, though, but the game is really good. I think it's, pretty underrated, I guess. I've, never heard of it before, and I was looking. So... Plays very much like a Metal Slug or like Gunstar Heroes. I suppose what they say in here, they compare it to Gunstar Heroes in the article a bunch, and they say it. Most people think it's worse than Gunstar Heroes, but you could do worse than being
you know, Gunstar Hero-like game and not being bad. I think that's good. I thought it was a pretty good game. Here's some photos of NT. I don't know where they put the Nick. Is this Nick Thorpe? NT is Nick Thorpe, right? I don't like how they do this. I wish they just had like they have their T-shirt with their initials, but I wish they just wrote their name down so I don't have to work so hard to figure out who's writing everything and give the authors a little bit more credit, you know. But yeah, some pictures of Nick Thorpe's early life. That's cool. That is cool. Here's where they asked about what are your favorite Elite Systems games, and Bomb Jack came up, and I saw that picture of Bomb Jack, and I'm like, oh, that looks like something I want to play. So that I showed that footage earlier, but I played the Spectrum Bomb Jack. And then here, this is fun. Somebody was asking, what is this game? And they say, I'm trying to track down an old game I used to enjoy playing at a friend's house. It was either on Mega Drive or SNES, and it played like Blood Brothers, but featured giant robots. It was a 2-player game mode, and you could play as someone who looked like Clint Eastwood. I knew that was Wild Guns right away, by the way. But of course, they also knew it was Wild Guns. And I was happy to play Wild Guns with my friend. He's never played it before, so I showed it to him, and we had a great time. It's quite a unique game on Super Nintendo. Really happy that it's co-op as well, because it's fun to, you know, talk while you're playing. Like, oh, you kill the left side, you kill the right, you shoot your lasso at that robot. But it's a fast action, Wild West kind of steampunk Wild West, retro, futuristic run and gun where I guess it plays like like what's that game, like Jackal? Is it Jackal on Nintendo, where you're the guy in the bottom of the screen and then you have a reticle that you shoot with? Not that many games like that are memorable. Wild Guns certainly is. There was a recent re-release of Wild Guns on modern consoles with new characters and a lot of new content that I wanted to buy, but never got around to it. Had a little cough attack there. I still haven't gotten over my sore throat that I had last month. Can you believe that? That's what happens when you have kids, man. You just get sick all the time, and it lasts forever. Okay, look. Space Invaders Extreme. This was one of the first games I got on PSP when I got a PSP. I'm like, what games? Space Invaders Extreme, like, gotta get it. I looked it up on YouTube, and there was like this fast action gameplay. Modern reimagining of Space Invaders. I love it, and I love it to this day. Recommend everybody play it. Absolutely, like, top 5 PSP games. Also on the Nintendo DS, if you want to play it there too. But yeah, you can see the gameplay is incredibly overwhelming. The colors are insane. It reminds me of Lumines a little bit, and how, like, how it assaults your senses. But they have this really great mechanic where you try to kill like-colored creatures, and if you kill 4, you kill 4 of the same color in a row, you unlock a special weapon power-up. And then the weapon power-ups are, like, insanely powerful, and you want to have it as much as possible. So not only do you want to kill all the enemies, as always, you have to be precise with your shots, because you don't want to kill 3 green ones and then break your combo by killing a red one, because then you don't get a power-up. You want to get those power-ups all the time. And there's also all these mechanics with how you get bonus rounds. You kill the UFOs that are colorful, you get bonus rounds. There's a bunch of different scoring versions with columns and rows. Like, you gotta, go through some stuff to learn all the ins and outs of the game. But it is super fun, and it's a score attack game. There's a limited, I think it's just 5 levels. The levels are kind of long. Like, every level is a lot of waves of enemies. But it's only like 5 levels, and you just get a score. And every level has a different variant, so I guess there's more than 5 levels. Although, you know, there's just waves and waves and waves of Space Invaders, so the level format doesn't really matter. Other than every level ends with a boss, and the boss fights are really cool and innovative as well. They feel really fun to play. I mean, I could just, like, play this game for hours. It's so good. Recommended. Recommended big time for everybody. Oh wow, we're at the end already with Konami Crazy Racers. This is actually pretty cool. So I never heard of this game before, and it's a Mario Kart clone, but Konami characters. And one of the things they highlight in this this endgame article is the characters that are in it. So you got Konami, which are responsible for, you know, some of the most iconic characters, such as the Castlevania guys. You know, all the Castlevania properties are Konami's. And Contra, you know. If you think of Konami, it's like the Contra and Castlevania, right? Like, those are the things. Sorry, for some reason, I just had a complete, like, stroke. And I was like, wait, is Castlevania a Capcom property? No, I was right. Castlevania is a Konami property. So you're like, you'd expect to see Simon Belmont or Maria on kart racers, right? You'd expect to see I forgot the names of the Contra guys, but you know, you'd expect to see one of those guys. No, what you get here is you get the girl from Tokimeki Memorial, which didn't even come out in the U.S. But that girl, the main girl from that dating game is in here. You got Geomon, which I guess is pretty well known, maybe in America. I mean, he's nothing like the other Konami characters. You get the Morai head from Gradius, like the Easter Island head. That's so funny. Metal Gear Solid's Gray Fox, the Cyber Ninja, which, I mean, I guess that is a popular character, but I never would have noticed, because you can't really tell what it's like, a chibi ninja, like whatever that is. And then you get some other characters from Parodius, from Gradius, and you get this guy from Rakuga Kids, which is like, what the hell is that? Like, what are these Konami characters? That's so strange. But yeah, it's a really well done racing game. It's an awesome kart racer on Game Boy Advanced. I had a fun time playing it. Good. Recommended for a Game Boy fan. You know, if you run out of Mario Kart, you can start right back up again with Konami Kart Racers. All right, another successful Retro Gamer read-through. Thank you for coming along that journey with me. It was really fun. I got some new games that I added to my collection, and I discovered that I have a Dreamcast. I can follow up on Dreamcast articles now, which is awesome for me to know about. Why don't you give me a like and a subscribe, and leave me a comment of, you know, your experiences with these games. I'd love to read them. Thank you for coming. See you next time.